This season is starting to show signs of being an absolute classic. The summer break is upon us and we have 7 different race winners, some brilliant races with no shortage of spice, and a first multi-race winner other than Max Verstappen as George Russell takes victory at the Belgian Grand Prix. Or does he? There were some real shocks at Spa-Francorchamps this weekend which we will get into, but the implications of the action seen at the Belgian Grand Prix off-track are massive, with some drivers who were already in danger potentially not returning for the second half of the season after some terrible performances across the field. Plenty of opportunities have been afforded to save their Formula 1 careers, but it's pretty clear now that for some drivers it is surely all over. Want to know why Spa has spelt doom for Sergio Perez? He'll be lucky to see Zandvoort after his performance at Spa, but just what went wrong for him this weekend? And stick around, because a certain team principal needs to be careful what he wishes for. Sergio Perez was given very clear instructions in the build-up to the weekend, which was to help Red Bull in any way possible, especially in the Constructors' Championship. This is what Helmut Marko outlined as being expected of Checo earlier in the weekend. Sergio knows that for the Constructors' Championship, we have to have both cars ahead of McLaren if possible, and that hasn't been the case in the last few races. The goal is to win both Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, and we'll discuss the best way to achieve that on Monday. Before ending the interview to praise the Mexican driver's qualifying, something he has struggled with all season which has been pinned as pretty much the whole reason he has lacked in races, saying, "But it's great to see Sergio, who has really improved. He will start on the front row due to the relegation, and now things are looking much better again." Right, so Sergio has a review about his future at the team on Monday, following the race at Spa, which will be a summary of his performances across the first 14 races. He's starting on the front row. He has a car under him capable of performing well at Spa, so how did Sergio do? Oh yeah, he finished behind his teammate who started 11th, he finished far behind both McLarens, and was unable to even keep in the battle with the leading pack, falling back to no man's land in 8th. Having started on the front row in a car that was clearly capable of keeping up with the Ferraris and McLarens at the very least, this is about as bad of a result possible in a clean race. He didn't spin, he didn't get shunted, he didn't even get penalized. He just was not fast enough, even with a good qualifying position, and he failed in the goals set out to him. This video will be out by the time the meeting is, and we can't see how Red Bull can legitimize keeping Checo in the car if their goal truly is to win the Constructors. It's either let him go or let go of the chances for the Constructors. Harsh as it sounds, he's had many races to improve, and even when the conditions were perfect, he did not capitalize on them. I think the very moment the Red Bull gave up on Checo was on lap 22, when he was pulled into the pits early, abandoning his current strategy and pulling him out of the path of not only the oncoming Verstappen, but the chasing Lando Norris. I mean, it was P2 to P8, exiting the pits alongside a late charging Oscar Piastri at the first stops. So what exactly went wrong? Well, if you ask Perez, it's all because of strategy calls made by the team. It was a very disappointing race. It started well, I have to say. I was just struggling a lot on the straights. I don't know what was going on, but I had to save battery early on the first couple of laps. We were obviously very compromised by having just 2 sets of mediums, so again, I think strategically it wasn't a perfect exhibition. It's something that we will get together as a team. However, he wasn't the only Red Bull with 2 mediums available. His teammate started from the back and before even half race distance was breathing down his neck and under jeopardy of being slowed down by Checo. After every malperformance, every bad qualifying and every race that slips away or stagnates, there has been one consistent point of blame for Checo, and that is the car and the team. While clearly Max is more comfortable and the car is more to his liking, the car isn't exactly undrivable for Checo. While the wing was clearly more suited to downforce and less focused on the straights, there is no way that Perez should have plummeted in the way that he did. However, according to him, he is not the place of scrutiny for the team and his future hasn't been influenced at all by losing out to all 7 drivers in the fight at the front of the field. And by no small margin either, I might add. As he said, "It doesn't change anything." However, his next statement sounded a lot to us like desperation. I think we have too much going on in the team, a lot of things we have to focus on, and we cannot waste any energy with all this speculation. So this is the last time I will speak about the future. Just to make it clear for everyone, I will not be speaking anymore. I will not answer any more questions about the future. While we're sure that being questioned about your future in the sport over and over again must be exhausting, the only man that can stop these questions is Sergio Perez by picking up the pace. Excuses have been made for him over and over and over again, whether it's compromised qualifying or mentality holding him back. But failing to capitalize even when everything went at least okay, and failing to beat their rivals from said position to bolster the constructors should be the final nail in the coffin for the Mexican driver's tenure at Red Bull. Whether it is or not, we should find out on Monday. Meanwhile, a driver who felt pretty blindsided this weekend was Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes have been on a hot run of form in the past few races, with their drivers now holding 3 wins between them and plenty of podiums to boot. However, up until the closing laps of the race, it seemed that it would be Hamilton entering the summer break with the lion's share of those wins. When discussing the race, Hamilton rued the strategy calls to call him in despite his tyres feeling okay. However, he also acknowledged just how strange of a situation the race was. George did a great job today. It was a fantastic effort to go to one stop. It was pretty smooth sailing for me, to be honest. I was fully in control. I had plenty of pace and tyres and just didn't end up as planned. You could have heard what I said to the team most of the time. I think the tyres were pretty good. I still had plenty of tyres and I was going quicker. I didn't want to stop, I just said the tyres were fine and I'm happy. Toto Wolff gave his reasons for Hamilton losing out on strategy, with him claiming that Russell's pace was a surprise to them, with Hamilton's real threat seeming to come from behind and not down the road to his teammate with aging tyres. I'd like to have 2 winners today, but we had to cover Leclerc and Norris because we would have been undercut. So that was the call. George had nothing to lose, we were P5. The 1 stop and the 2 stops were showing P5, so we just kept him out. He was very good. Lewis was very good. The strategy played for George and not for Lewis. I'd like to have 2 winners today. We didn't think it was possible, but at a certain stage we said let's stay out because we would have finished 5th anyway, in both scenarios. He made it last. Well, maybe Toto should be careful about what he wishes for, however, as in a shocking twist, Toto got his wish after all, as Mercedes did indeed have 2 winners at Spa, the official winner, Lewis Hamilton, and the winner for 1 hour following the race, George Russell, whose car was disqualified from contention after being found to be underweight following the race. The revelation came following the car being measured before and after a required fuel sample being removed from the car, which then caused the FIA to refer the car to the stewards for further inspection. Everything possible was seemingly done to prove the car's innocence, with the team and the scrutineers going as far as to taking off the tyres and measuring them separately, something which Ted Kravitz posed could make all the difference following the Spa-Francorchamps circuit not allowing for the normal in-lap pickup that other circuits do. However, nothing could be done to prevent the black and white nature of the rules disqualifying the underweight Mercedes. Clearly, Hamilton would be pretty torn on this. However, his dejection following the race about how the strategy unfolded has now been rendered moot. The big winners from this are clearly the new podium sitters Piastri and Leclerc, Verstappen, who earns a larger gap at the top of the field, something which will only sour Lando Norris's mood even further, and it's also promoted Daniel Ricciardo to the points after a solid performance, something which may well make all the difference in the conversation on Monday. A penny for George Russell's thoughts then, who won the hearts of Formula 1 fans with an incredible display of pace, management and mentality, but ultimately saw his 3rd win in Formula 1 torn away by just over a kilogram of missing weight. Well, them's the rules. Despite the individual brilliance of George Russell seeming to make all the difference, not only managing to maintain a steady pace but also making his Mercedes as wide as possible for the final 5 laps, it is ultimately Lewis Hamilton who takes home the winner's trophy from an enthralling Belgian Grand Prix.